In this lecture, we're going to install ASP.NET Core for Linux, and we're going to run it based on our Ubuntu device. I'm at microsoft.com/net, and then I have all the different devices listed at the top that I can install ASP.NET Core for. We've already implemented Windows. In the next lecture, we'll implement OS X. You're not tied to just Ubuntu. There's different versions of Linux that you can install ASP.NET Core with. So you can do CentOS OS. It shows you how to install that on those devices. It also can show you how to install in Debian, Red Hat, and of course, we're going to install with Ubuntu. This is what you'll need to understand when you install ASP.NET Core on your Linux device. We need to first set up the apt-get feed that hosts the packages we need, and then we need to install the .NET Core SDK. So I'm going to exit out of this. And as you can see, I have those commands right here. These commands are associated to the ones we saw on that page. I've also incorporated in this document, which I will upload at the end of this lecture section, so that you have all the commands associated with ASP.NET Core and installing it on Linux. And I've also incorporated previous commands that we've associated with installing Node.js, npm, Yeoman, and the ASP.NET generator. Remember that these must be installed first before we implement the yoaspnet command. We're going to go over here to our terminal, and I've already previously installed this, but I just want to run through the installer for you. So we're going to copy this command, and we have it right there. So let's go ahead, and let's paste that, and then let's type in the admin password. Doesn't like that. Let me type that in again. So now that we're in administrative rights here, let's try this one more time. And now it's imported the associated key inside of our Linux device. So we've associated that there. If this was not the first time you were installing it, it'd give you a long list of what's being installed on your device. Once we install that, let's do sudo apt-get update. Let's copy that, paste the command right there. Then it's going to update our feed associated on our Linux device. Now that we have that installed, let's go ahead and install the .NET Core on our Linux device. Let's copy this command. So now that we have that set up and we have the newest version, now we can start building our console and web application. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. One thing you may want to remember is that you may want to reinstall Yeoman or upgrade your existing version so that you can have the newest ASP.NET generator associated with your npm modules. So we're going to go to our desktop. Let's do cd. Put the slash the wrong way, so let's do this. So now that we have that, let's do mkdir. We're going to create a directory, and we're going to say console app. You'll see that folder created on our desktop. So let's go to that folder. Let's do cd console app. And then we're going to type the command to create a new console application. I'm going to remind myself later to do the update. So let's go over here and let's type .NET new. It's creating a new console app in my console app folder. So if we go inside this folder, you'll see what is inside of that. We have a program.cs, and I'm going to open this real quick with Visual Studio Code. And as you can see right there, it just has a right line hello world. And I'm just going to change that real quick before I restore the dependencies. First app Linux. Save that. Now that I have my directory associated right there, I'm going to leave this, shrink this a little bit so you can see it. And let's go over here and let's type, since we're in the directory, .NET restore. It's going to restore all the associated packages in this folder. It creates the project lock.json to associate, and then we have that set up. Now we can do .NET run. It's going to build it, and it's compiling our application. And as you see right there, what does it write out? First app Linux, which I have in the console.writeLine method. It creates a bin directory, the debug, and it associates my DLL and all my different console app run config dev.json settings. So this is what's implemented once we build our application. So this is what we have set up right there. We have our program.cs, our project.json, the log file, the object folder. This is how we would implement our console app on our Ubuntu OS. So let's go ahead, let's close this out. Let's close all this out real quick. So now that we have that, let's go back to our terminal. And let's pull this up here. And let's go back to our desktop. Put the squiggly line here. And then once we get to our desktop, let's type that command again to create a folder. mkdir, and let's put this web app. And you will see web app created right there on my desktop. Let's cd to the web app. And then let's do yo ASP.NET. Give it a second while it generates our app. And then we have all of these choices we can associate with ASP.NET Core. We can do an empty web application. We even can create a console application from this generator. We can do a web application. We could do a web application basic, a web API application. I'm just going to do a web application. I'm going to click that. And in this case, I'm going to pick Bootstrap and not Semantic UI. And I'm going to say First Linux as my app name. And then if we go to our web app folder and then go to First Linux, you will see all the dependencies, the www root folder, my models folder, and this gives us a scaffolded ASP.NET Core application on Linux. So I'm going to minimize this. And as you can see, it's building all the dependencies inside of our app. Just wanted to show you that this is what it's actually building inside of our application once we have it set up. You can see all the dependencies. It installed Bower. It installed all the different items we want to associate with our scaffolded ASP.NET Core application. So now that we have that, we're going to cd to the file folder structure. So let's cd to First Linux. Then let's type .NET restore. And it's restoring all the packages associated in my project.json. So once we have that set up, then what's the next step? We're going to run this application. And it's compiling our .NET Core application version 1. So now you can see my application is listening on localhost port 5000. So typically what I can do is I can just come in here and click this, which I just did. But if that doesn't work, I can always just copy it. And I can always go into my browser here and type that right there. And you can see it's listening and associating all the listening states. It's pulling all different items associated with my project. So we have the Microsoft ASP.NET Core hosting, internal web hosting, and it's pulling in all my different requests associated with my static images, my banner, and you can see all of the requests associated with that. So if I click the About, then you can see the HTTP request and the resources that it's going to get to associate with the home controller and the different items associating if the model state is valid. So you can see all of that as you click different pages in your application. So if I go back, click Home, I get that scaffolded ASP.NET Core application and the naming convention in my view data to associate with my project name, which is First Linux. I also have the contact page if I want to go to that, or the home page back by clicking the home navigation link or the First Linux link. So this is how you build an ASP.NET Core application on Ubuntu Linux. Like I stated before, you don't have to use Ubuntu. You can use Debian, you can use Red Hat, you can use any Linux version that you want. You can build a console application via command line in Linux, or you can do it with the Yeoman generator. And with the Yeoman generator, you can also scaffold an ASP.NET Core web application. I want to thank you for joining me in this lecture. Have a nice day.